Hello, everyone, and welcome to our SPI webinar in collaboration with Honeywell. My name is Amélie Leduc. I'm a marketing advisor. Happy to be with you on this first Wednesday of November. Today's topic, we're going to talk about hearing protection. For those who are joining our webinar for the first time, let me introduce you quickly to SPI. Our mission is to be the single most valuable partner for companies that value health and safety in their work environment. And how do we carry out our mission? Is by offering training and expertise services as well as PPE in the risk categories that you see on your screen. To discuss this matter today, I have the privilege of being accompanied by one of Honeywell's specialists, Markkirsch. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name correctly, Mark. Let's turn on our webcam so we can say hi to people.
Hey, that is
And our
actually the formal way to present it or to say it. I usually go by Kirsch, but Kirsch is
Kirsch.
the
Sorry.
proper German pronunciation there.
Oh, okay, German. Good. Uh, Francis is right behind me. That's why we're keeping the mask just for the time being, for him to present himself to the camera. So I will take that off. So as you can see, we're respecting the hygiene measures in the times of a pandemic. So Mark, you work at Honeywell. Can you maybe talk about what's your role at Honeywell?
Yeah, I am the product marketing manager for the U.S. and Canada region. So the largest region across the country. Go U.S. and Canada, right? We're all friends, but I get to work on all kinds of new product introductions, new technology, and supporting our existing business. So it's really a lot of different hats, and I am excited to talk to everybody today a little bit about that.
Good. All right. We're glad to have you on board. Francis, people can't see you, but can you introduce yourself and
Well, they saw me earlier.
they saw you right here. I can turn the laptop, but there's too many cords right now. So
Yeah.
let's just explain to our audience what it is your role at SPI.
Yeah. So my role is OH&S partner consulting services. So pretty much, I'm the link between our department and the client. So whenever our clients have any questions in regards to a certain situation related to occupational health and safety, they usually contact me to see what needs to be put in place. And I also act as a partner for our BDRs and BDMs, so our business development representative and managers inside of SPI. Whenever they have certain products that they want to position to their client, they come and see me to see how we can position that certain product in regards to their health and safety situation.
All right. Thanks for being here. You also used to be a trainer advisor here at SPI. Your specialty was
Yeah, I used to be
fall
a
protection.
trainer for fall protection for 2 years, also respiratory protection in confined spaces. And I'm actually finishing up my a degree in university in occupational health and safety as well.
All right. Congrats. Okay. So, what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be presenting what is a hearing loss prevention program, the standards and regulations. We always talk about those, but those actually guide our actions when we talk about health and safety. And Honeywell's technology. So, Mark is going to present Honeywell's technology and the future of hearing protection. A bit of housekeeping before we start. Basically, the webinar will last 60 minutes, so you'll be with us until 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So depending where you are in the country, if you have questions, by all means, ask them throughout the webinar. Don't just wait at the end. We may answer some of them at the end. However, we'll do our best to answer them as we go along. You can also the question box is on your console today. For those who are used to join our webinar, we usually have interactive questions where you can answer on your screen. Today, we're going to ask you to do a bit of homework. You're going to have to type in your answers in that question box. So stay alert for that. And as usual, the PowerPoint will not be available. However, the webinar will be available for rebroadcast, and the link will be sent to you tomorrow. So you'll be able to share it with your colleagues or watch it another time if you wish to. I don't think I think we've covered it all. So let's get started with the laws in Canada, Francis.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna take a look at the federal legislation here in Canada. We're not going to discuss about all the different provincial legislations because we don't want this webinar to only be about legislation. So if we take a look at what the federal legislation says at Article 7.3, is that if ever an employee in a workplace may be exposed to a certain level of noise, so 84 dBs or more, we need to assign a qualified person to investigate the degree of exposure in order, like we're going to talk about in the next couple of slides, in order to identify those different hazards and put in place preventive measures. So if we take a look at the sub-article 4 here, we see that there are 5 different components that we need that qualified person needs to take a look at. So first off, the source of noise of emission at a workplace. So like I said, we need to identify those hazards. Point B, so the A-weighted sound pressure levels to which the employee can reasonably be expected to be exposed. So we need to measure what the noise exposure is for these workers. We need to put in place methods that reduce exposure. So we're going to take a look at the hierarchy of controls in the next couple of slides. So we're going to talk about that more in details shortly. We're going to talk about, there's also the likelihood that employees' exposure is greater than the maximum level prescribed. So we need to take that into consideration too as well. And the likelihood that the employee will be exposed to an exposure level higher of 84. So 84 is pretty much our base point here. So once we have noise levels that are higher, we certainly have to put measures in place to reduce that noise level.
And yes, and actually, we'll see on the next slide the noise level versus the exposure time.
Yeah, exactly. So what I know Mark is going to discuss about this more in depth in his portion of the presentation, but what is important to see here is that we see that at every 3 dBs increase, there's actually a doubling factor here of exposure time. So for a regular 8-hour shift, if we take a look at the federal legislation, 87 dB is pretty much our base point for 8-hour shift. If ever we go to higher noise levels, we see that the maximum exposure time of the employees drop down by, like I said, doubling factor every 3 dBs difference. So we need to take that into consideration when we decide on which PPEs we need to put in place for our workers.
Absolutely. So let's get into the hearing prevention program.
Yeah, exactly. So we see here that there are actually 6 components to the hearing loss prevention program. We're going to take a bigger look at each of all of these components. So if we switch slides, the first component of the program is detecting the noise hazard. So like I said, it's important for the employer to make sure that their employees have a safe workplace. So in order to do that in regards to hearing loss, we need to do cartography of the workplace in order to identify where in our company there are higher noise levels, and we also can use the dosimetry to put in place an average on what our workers are exposed to noise level during their shifts.
Sorry, Francis did a funny face, so that's why I started laughing.
They're not words I'm used to.
No.
Well, I think you're looking. I mean, well, for us, it's noise mapping. So that's, I think, the cartography
See,
is talking about mapping, but it might have
so much easier.
translated fun. Yeah, noise mapping. Just think about noise mapping in your facility and where the employees are experiencing the most noise.
And what
We've
about
got some,
dosimetry? Was that good, Mark?
that is perfect. So the
Right.
dosimeters are more of a noise measure that you're looking at for a particular area. So you're measuring, think about it as your environment, where when you start talking about some of the products we'll showcase today, you're talking about personalized noise monitoring. So a little bit different from the environment to what the employee is actually being exposed to, and how do you take it to the next level. So, but you did good.
Perfect.
Well, we had a question from Sherry about what was the difference between the two. Sherry, let us know if that answers your question properly, or if you need some more.
I sure hope it does.
Yeah.
I think it.
Oh, you muted yourself, Mark, before you finished your sentence.
Oh, I said I think it might, but I wanted to let the
Oh,
leader
okay, perfect. We'll
keep
adjust.
presenting.
Awesome. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about the hierarchy of control.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, so once we've identified the danger, we need to take into consideration these different levels of the hierarchy pyramid. So the first thing that we need to see if it's possible is to actually remove the hazard directly at the source, so elimination. If that's not possible, we want to try to substitute or replace, let's say the equipment. Let's say an equipment makes, I don't know, 93 dBs of noise. We can try to see if there's a certain equipment that does the same work but produces less noise. So that would be substitution. We can have engineered controls also. So engineered controls that would help us diminish the noise that is produced by a certain machine or equipment. If all of these elements are not possible, then we take a look at to see if there's any administrative controls that we can put in place. And last resort will be the PPEs. So we always need to take into consideration all these 4 points before choosing the PPE to protect the worker.
Obviously.
And
Okay.
I do want to add one thing,
Yeah,
if you wouldn't mind.
Yep.
of course.
I just want to say I always see it and it shows more effective and less effective, and I want to take personal offense to the less effective side of PPE, because I do think that at least when Honeywell is concerned, we really take that into account with different fit testing measures and different controls. So working on engineering PPE that's comfortable, effective, works well for the employee so that they actually want to wear it. That's how we make sure it's more effective. So just a little personalization of that chart there, if you want to think about it. It might be less effective with some providers of PPE, but not through SPI and Honeywell. We make it the most effective it can be. So
And you'll present some of those products, such as the VeraShield later on, and also the VeraPro equipment. So, all right,
absolutely.
let's talk. Let's talk about noise exposure control.
Yeah, so the noise exposure control part of the program says that if it is impossible to comply with the standards, the employee must make hearing protectors available. So we talked about it in the hierarchy pyramid. So if ever we can't eliminate the danger at the source, or we can't substitute it with another type of equipment that makes less noise, then we need to take into consideration the PPEs, and to see if there's any administrative controls that we can implement to make sure that we help secure the workers. So the hearing protection devices. So any hearing protector is provided to a worker must attenuate noise so that the worker is no longer exposed to certain noise levels. So like Mark said, after the map
The noise mapping.
the noise mapping that we put in place, and the dosimetry that we could have used to calculate the average noise level exposure that workers are faced with during their shift. If ever those noise levels are higher than what is acceptable, we need to put hearing protectors in place for our workers.
And as mentioned before, Mark is going to present.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm the
I
introduction part of
am, but I love the way you're covering it, and I have no problem adding to it, because I think you're absolutely spot on about the way that you need to look at an entire facility as having different needs for hearing protective devices. And keep in mind, it is possible to overprotect. You can have too high of an NRR and actually block out some of those commands or other alarms that the employee might want to hear. So
yeah,
that's why
absolutely.
it's important to work closely with your PPE providers and understand that.
Yeah. All
perfect.
right. Audiometry examination is part of the hearing loss prevention program, right?
Yeah, that's actually an examination just to see if there was a loss of hearing for your workers. So you can decide on the timeline that you want to test your workers. So an example of timeline could be once they're hired, they pass audiometric test just to see where their hearing level is. And if ever after a couple of years or when they leave the company, they could repass a test and see what the hearing loss what hearing loss had occurred in the certain timeline that they were for that company. So they can evaluate if it's regular hearing loss, because
Normal,
obviously,
yeah.
yeah, obviously with age, we have a little bit of hearing loss every year. So we could evaluate if it's a normal hearing loss reduction or if it was actually related to the
The job,
workplace.
yeah.
Exactly. So it's a kind of a way to evaluate if one the workers are actually protecting themselves with what we've put in place, the preventive measures that we've put in place, and the PPEs that we've put in place. And it's a way to see if our program actually works with our employees.
It's important to communicate danger.
Yeah, exactly. So with our noise map, that leads us to understand where the vast majority of the noise in our workplace comes from. So we can identify those different areas with signs like the one that you see on the screen. So it's important to communicate the danger. It's actually an obligation by the employer to communicate that the danger via some signs like that, and via, it doesn't say it on the slide here, but training sessions too. So it's important for the employees to actually understand what the danger they're facing, what it is, and how to protect themselves against that danger, and to understand what are the preventive measures that the employer has put in place to make sure that they stay healthy.
Absolutely. And we see also that when people are aware, they've been communicated the information or educated, they're more inclined to wear their PPEs and actually protect themselves than when they are not aware or not trained, right?
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, we need an evaluation. We need to monitor
Yeah,
our program.
exactly. So it's not just to put in place a program and okay, it's done, we're not going to touch it for 15 years. It's to actually review it every year just to make sure everything is still up to par and everything, because we see there's change in regulations and in different standards too as well. So we need to adapt that program every year and make sure that it's still good and it still protects our workers adequately.
Absolutely. Um, Basically, what the CCOHS mentions that you need to establish in a program are.
Yeah, exactly. So the federal legislation says that the program must be based on the adjustment, maintenance, and use of equipment for hearing protection, but we tend to be more towards the best practice, and the best practice would be to actually build a program with all the different elements that we've shown you in the previous slides. So it was just there to say that maybe you can read in the federal legislation that a program doesn't need to include all of these different fields,
Yeah.
but at SPI and best practices say that all of these fields must be covered inside your hearing protection program.
Yeah, it's about up risk management and.
Exactly.
All right. I think it's important for you, Francis, to explain what are services that SBI offers
Yeah.
online or on site. It's one thing to let you know what you guys can do, but it's one thing to let you know how we can help you.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So we have a industrial hygienist that works for us, and technicians too as well. So these are all of the different things that we can offer at SPI to help you guys with your hearing protection program. So first off, there's a hearing protection training for either for your employees. So that's the first thing. We can also do qualitative fit testing. So Mark's going to talk to us more about the VeraPro in the next couple of slides. We can also do the evaluation and analysis of exposure to different noise levels. So like we talked about the noise map and dosimetry, we can do both of them. We can support you in the development of a hearing loss protection program. So we have program templates that we can build a program around just to make sure that it fits your reality. We also are able to personalize protection service. So we have molded earplugs that we also offer to our clients, and the audiometric evaluation of workers. That's another service that we are able to offer to you guys.
yeah, and you'll see later on the email or the phone number that you can reach us if you need anything, or you can always let us know in the question box. So thanks, Francis. I'll let Mark take over. He's going to go about products and technology, but before he does that, we want to do things a bit different than we usually do. As I mentioned before, you won't be able to click on A, B, C, or D if you're used to doing our poll questions with us. Today, we want you to use the question box, and Mark is going to explain you why those questions to you today.
Yeah, and first off, I'm just really enjoying this format, and I know that we are, probably 1,000 miles away from each other, but it's almost like a podcast that we're doing in the same room. So I'm
We
definitely
feel you're
honored to be
here,
a
Mark.
guest
We feel
here.
you're here.
I know it's been really fun, and I want to keep that energy going because it's really important. And I even just reacting to some of the things that I'm seeing on how you approach hearing loss prevention, different than hearing conservation that it's called a lot, often in the US, it's called the Hearing Conservation Program. So
Hmm.
even just by naming it hearing loss prevention, I feel like you're a step ahead. You really understand it, especially at SPI, you really understand it. So before we get going, I want to ask this question, and I want you to think about what is your favorite food and what is your favorite sound. You can enter them in. Just put, your first answer is your favorite food. Your first answer is your second answer is your favorite sound. And I want Amelie to bring some of those up, and I want to discuss it with you because I want you to be thinking about what hearing means to you and how important it is. So when you think about hearing loss prevention programs, it's personalized. So
So
as soon
don't
as
be
we
shy.
start getting some answers, yeah, as soon as we start getting some answers, or else we might have to have Amelie call on you. So you want to
Well, we do have
make
some
sure you enter
answers, but
that.
I can certainly share mine. But we do have some answers. So favorite sound, children's laughter, food, anything curry, favorite sound, laughing babies. Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Favorite food. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Risotto. I don't know.
Risotto?
Oh,
You
risotto.
don't know
Yeah.
a risotto, a nice risotto
Oh no, I know
maybe.
risotto, but it's written risotto, so I wasn't sure. I
I was gonna say,
love
it's making me
risotto.
hungry. I love it too. It's good.
Okay,
Okay.
where Mike, you answer exactly where you ask the question of where do I answer? Right there. Just let us know
Right,
your favorite food and your favorite
right
sound.
there, Mike.
I have tart and my children, so I'm assuming the sound is tart. uh, the food is sorry.
The wrong way. The sound is, hey, if a tart makes a sound while it's nice and crisp eating it, then I guess it's also valuable there. But and there is a perfect answer, Mike. If you can think of the perfect answer from a food and a sound, it is the correct 100% answer. I might have to send you a prize. So think about that. Um, but I do want to just say that you guys have it spot on. I think three of you answered the sound of your children or babies. Um, we've gotten answers all across the board from Metallica to rain to the ocean to your favorite sport, the sound of skates on ice, the sound of a bat hitting a baseball. Uh, it's important for us to be thinking about the difference between what is a sound that is desirable and a noise that we want to protect against. Did you get any other good answers? Otherwise, we can probably move on to the next slide.
Yes, I'm just trying to stop laughing.
No,
Sorry,
you can go.
being
The
serious
sound
right
of a
now.
tart is I'm going to have to record the sound of a tart and
Well,
put that
it's being recorded. That's my
on our
concern right
next
now, but
on our next PPE podcast.
yes.
We'll talk about tarts.
Well, well, that yes, absolutely. We'll remember that one for a long time. Anyway, I will. No like tart, thanks, Sherry. Like lemons. All right. So we had the crunch and chicken wings. So I guess we can move
There
on to the next slide.
chicken wing can make a sound too if it's nice and crispy. So yes,
Yeah.
we can move on. But and
All
I
right.
will
That's
try to
great.
be
I hope.
serious from now on. So
Well, yeah, it's okay to bring a little bit of fun, but those questions are great. Thanks, Mike, for bring them to the table. So moving on to the next slide. What is noise?
yeah, so I think I already kind of covered that a little bit, but noise is those unwanted sounds, and noise exposure is cumulative. So when you think about, everything you experience in a day, if you go home and you're not shutting off your ears and you're continuing to expose yourself to hazardous noise, it's continuing to affect you. So that's what we want you to be thinking about, that there are, the noises that you have when you're mowing your yard or blowing leaves. It's that time of year, at least where I am, blowing leaves, doing yard work. Those are the things that you may be exposed to in your leisure world. But for the purpose of this, we're really going to talk more about that noise-induced hearing loss or occupational hearing loss.
Yes. Those pictures are interesting.
They are interesting, and they are actually pictures of real human cochlea there. So you know, they weren't alive when the pictures were taken. So that's
Thank
if
God.
that's a hint there. But it is it's really the only way, you know, when you get in there and you can actually see the structural damage to the hearing cells in your ear. So when you think about normal hearing of a, you know, of a normal worker that's been wearing PPE correctly and is protected, that's what it looks like on the left. All of your cochlea are intact and everything looks great. When you think about experiencing hearing loss, the way I like to kind of have you picture it, it's like if you were driving around this curve of the ear and it's, you know, you're in a big 18 wheeler and you're going extremely fast, you're not going to make that turn. And so what you're doing is you're going to slam into that wall right there, and that's where your hearing loss really starts. And those are mostly the th sounds, the p sounds. When you're talking to someone, you're going to lose those sounds first. So, you know, you may not notice it immediately. It often causes no pain or no trauma, unlike what Francis is familiar with fall protection training. That will cause you some pain, that will cause you some trauma if you fall. But you know, we're not really leaving visible scars, and it's very unnoticeable at your earliest stages. So, you know, the services that SPI offers, where you can do those, you know, the measurements, and you can look at the hearing tests. You know, unfortunately, a lot of that is just detected after the fact. So what we want to do is think about how can we be proactive and prevent that hearing loss from happening in the first place, because it is permanent, but it is 100% preventable.
Absolutely. We talked about DBs before, but I guess you're going to explain more in depth.
You know,
What is
I
it this
like
time?
the way that he presented. I think it's just the visual representation about the increase in level and doubling the energy. Now this one kind of starts even lower when you think about what the level of a conversation is, around that 70 to 73, and it just really just gets loud quickly. Um, you know, from the naked ear, you're not really going to be able to distinguish the difference between 79 and 82, but you will be able to tell the difference between 82 and 100 decibels. If you haven't been in an area that's 100 dBs, it is extremely loud. It's extremely uncomfortable, and it's at the point where it's, you know, that noise level is resonating and causing some serious damage. So that's why we like to think about how can we protect our workers with the appropriate PPE.
Yes, sound exposure.
Yeah, so another way to look at that slide, I mean, it's just talking about the amount of, you know, I guess the amount of sound that is at your disposal for an 8-hour workday. And again, it's different in the U.S., it's different in Canada a little bit, but you think about that doubling of your or cutting your exposure in half for every 3 dBs that you're exposed to. Um, you know, I worked pretty closely in a lumber mill facility, and it was the first time I ever was in 116 dBs of noise. Um, you know, you should have seen the look of the safety manager's face when I took my earmuffs off to adjust them. She's like, "No, no, you keep that on." And I realized quickly how loud that is, and you can do serious damage in 30 seconds or less when you're at that type of exposure level.
Absolutely. Few statistics, very interesting statistics, actually.
Yeah, so these you know, really tie in to some of the things that you were talking about for the government standards and the different provinces. You know, it is estimated that 11 million Canadians, or 43% of Canadians that are aged 19 to 79, have worked in noisy environments. So when you think of a noisy environment, even a good practice when you're thinking about you know, your own environments that you're in, if you have to raise your voice to communicate at arm's length, that is hazardous noise. And more than 7 million men, and you know, and 3 million women have experienced those noisy workplaces. And among people who experience those noisy environments, 56% of them are classified as vulnerable, meaning maybe they weren't required to use hearing protection, or only sometimes, rarely, or never. So that is the key when you start talking about a good hearing loss prevention program or a best-in-class hearing loss prevention program is allowing your workers to have access to the protection that they need while they're on the job. We want to
Absolutely.
avoid that 56, that those 56% are the people we want to talk to every day and get them the proper PPE and make sure that they're protected.
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. Actually, you know what? One of my uncle has worked for has been driving the train for 33 years, and 33 years ago they were not giving them proper hearing protection, and now he's got maybe six or just before the pandemic started, he was given some
Hearing aids?
yeah, hearing aids, and it's fully paid, but he's completely deaf, so it's definitely something that sometimes people underestimate, but it's very important to protect your hearing.
It is, and I experience it myself. I think, in my own, my own environment. And if you think about your environment, not even just on your job, just what you're doing around your household, people, contractors coming in to do work, even making sure that they're wearing proper PPE. It's something that is, personal mission to me, obviously, because I'm very close to hearing protection. But one of the stories that I like to tell is that I was going out to lunch and my neighbor was having their concrete driveway ripped up. So, you have a guy with a jackhammer pounding concrete loud enough that it was uncomfortable inside my house. And I went out there and he wasn't wearing any PPE. So, I quickly stopped what I was doing. I told everybody to
Mm.
wait in the car. I ran in and grabbed a handful of earplugs. And I honestly was a little bit nervous because we're not on a job setting. This isn't
Mhm.
this isn't my I'm not his supervisor. I can't tell him to wear PPE. But I walked up nicely and said, "Hey, not sure if you'll use these, but I'd like to give them to you." This guy was so thankful he immediately put those earplugs into his ear. And mind you, I watched him to see how he was doing it, and he did it correctly, so he knows how to use PPE.
Hmm.
Uh, and then the manager comes over and he says, "Oh yeah, I've been doing this job for 30 years, and that's why I have these hearing aids." And I looked
Oh,
at him like, "And you don't give your employees PPE?
yeah.
You know the damage it's going to cause. It's not a badge of honor." And
No.
and that's where when I get kind of passionate about it, but I want you to be thinking about those noises, tying it back to the sound of the tart or the sound of the children's laughter.
Thank you, Mark.
Um, and you're welcome. But tie it back to that because everyone has those sounds that are important to them, and it really does ruin the quality of their life if they are losing their hearing earlier than they should be. So
Yeah, one
let's
of
let's let's protect every worker, protect one, protect all.
absolutely, and one of our participant, Mark Shell, is mentioning, and I think he's right. It's not about being accessible, but also about being educated. So this is why we do this webinar as well today, is to
Absolutely.
educate people on those statistics, on the programs, on the technology available, so that
Yeah.
after that you won't have a reason to say, "Hey,
You
I
won't have a
left."
reason. You won't
Yeah.
have anyone saying no to you.
No.
But that is exactly why our fit testing system is as much of a training tool. And I've even got case studies that showed, you know, before training someone how to fit an earplug properly and afterwards, how different their results were on their average level of protection. I mean, it's phenomenally different. Just a little bit of proper training, and that's how important this is because it is, it will creep up on you, and it will cause permanent damage.
Absolutely. So another fun question. Maybe
Yep.
we'll get fun answers as well. But Mark, I'll let you introduce you this one.
Sure, sure. So, just think about what is one example of a hearing protective device is that you currently use. So, I would like to know what you currently use. If you use multiple, things, I'd like to see what your knowledge level is and how you talk about it. So, go ahead and enter it into that question box again and,
Yep.
and let me know at least one example of current HPD that you use.
All right, it's coming in. We have foam plugs, laser lights. That I don't know what laser lights are.
Oh, they're one of our most popular
Oh,
earplugs.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Chantal just presented them. Yeah. Okay. Again, phone plugs. Don't be shy. Answer in the question box. What
Yeah, no,
kind?
that's, I mean, those are good answers, and I think what I wanted to see was, how are people referring to it? Foam plugs, disposable plugs, reusable plugs. Just seeing the level of understanding from this group, they definitely know that the person who answered laser lights is definitely probably my favorite. You're playing to my heart there, because but as you can imagine, when we ask that question, sometimes you get, well, I use those yellow and purple ones. Those ones, that's the ones I use. Or they have those yellow and purple ones in the dispenser outside of the facility when you walk in. Hey, that's fine. If you know them as, they're the pink ones,
Yeah.
they're the blue ones, they're the yellow and purple ones. That's that's a step forward. We want to make sure that they're available and that your employees are using them. That is
Yep.
the key. So,
Some mention noise canceling headphones, earmuffs, depending on the job as well for longer periods.
okay,
Headband.
okay,
Good. Thanks,
yeah,
guys, for taking part in that question.
yeah. Thank
Um,
you.
moving on to the technology that Honeywell is is presenting today, basically.
Yep. You can go right on to that next slide.
Yeah. There we go.
There you go. So, a little bit about, why it's important to have a lot of different options. So, we talk about those items a little differently. That's why I wanted to ask, how do you refer to it? Because foam plugs is a great answer, but there's even different types of foam. There's low pressure foam. There's different, like the polyurethane foam. It's important to know what fits you well, what fits your employees well, and also what's comfortable. So what gets the job done and what gets the job done comfortably so that your employees are happy to wear them. I don't want to hear, about, hey, I was walking in the facility and I see, Jim's working a machine, but he's got his earplugs like hanging out of his ear hole. Like that's not how it's supposed to be worn. We want to make sure you are wearing them correctly and you're getting the appropriate level of protection. So, looking at, multiple use earplugs also have their own benefits, whether it's the difference in protection. So 25 to 27 to a 21, they serve a purpose. So, the Clarity series is, I sell a ton of those to managers in facilities or plants. And the reason why they like them is that they can hear vocal tones. They can go out onto a site for a visit. They can walk the floor and they can hear conversations and they can talk to their employees without having to take out their earplug. But they still have adequate protection for a quick walk around let's say a tire plant or a manufacturing facility. So those are great for that. The Smart Fit multiple use one all the way on the left there is, it's got a great type of material that actually, as it heats up in your ear, it actually softens and adjusts and actually fits you better over time. That's pretty cool, right? We also have things, the need of having a stemmed product might be, if you have arthritis, you have a hard time rolling down an earplug. That might be why you want a stemmed product.
Hmm.
So something like a hybrid, like a TrustFit pod, which is a push-in foam, you don't have to roll it down. You just pop it right in your ear, and you're ready to go do your job. And also, I know, a lot of food and beverage, industries. We work with a lot of them. That bottom left is all that metal detectable product. So making sure that that doesn't get into your soup, your beer, your bread, your
Your
tarts,
tarts.
anything like that. You're making sure that the point is that they do have that metal detection in, the stem, the rivet, in multiple size offerings. It's great for making sure that these employees are protected. Banded, I think somebody mentioned a banded on the answer. That's what they use. That's if you're doing infrequent sawing, cutting, taking those off, putting them on your desk, they keep protected. They don't get dirty. That's great. We've got an industrial dispenser. So if you've got a facility that goes through hundreds of plugs every shift, those are awesome. You just drop a box right in the top and it bends straight through the chute, and you have a crank that dispenses earplugs. Bottom right, I was just telling them before this call, We're actually working on an antimicrobial protected version of that HL400, so something
Yes.
new to the market shortly. We're super excited about that. But it's a nice canister-based dispenser that you can put on on a countertop. You can hang it on the wall. You can mount it somewhere. It can be near their equipment. It's nice and convenient. But across all of these things, the different shapes, the different sizes, the point is that your workers are unique. Their ears are unique. Their body makeup is unique, and we need to make sure we know what's fitting them properly. Because at the end of the day, these earplugs are the only piece of PPE that you're putting inside your body. So think about it's a very personal part of that personal protective equipment. I think
Mark,
we'll go
someone,
forward. Oh, go ahead.
yes, someone, yeah, we're gonna tackle the VeraPro technology, but someone is asking if they could get a copy of this portfolio.
I mean, I'm very happy to do that.
All
That's
right. So I
I think
will,
you said you don't normally provide your PowerPoints, but we can, yes, like
yeah, we can provide that slide. Yeah.
happy to do it. If you have additional questions afterwards, I'm happy to provide my email. We'll make sure you know what we have available because again, it's all about what fits you the best. And let's use that in transition to the fit testing because I want to talk a little bit about how that works and some of the products too. Uh,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
so when you think about size and shape, I usually like to pick on this one of my former coworkers. I know he's not listening today, so I can pick on him a little bit. But Chris and I, we both tested our hearing, our personal attenuation ratings using that Max earplug that you saw on the previous screen. It's a big earplug. It fits and it blocks out 33 dBs. I mean, it is for your loudest areas in your plant or in your facility. But the difference is, Chris has these little teeny tiny ear holes, and when he tries to fit that earplug into his ear, it doesn't fit properly. He actually gets leakage, and it gets less protection than what I get using the same exact plug. That's where this is really important. And I know I'm probably a little, you can't see me. I want to show the video because I'm animated about this, but I want to make sure I had enough bandwidth to present to you too. So, but training is important. Size and shape, ease of insertion is important. And understanding how much protection that employee actually gets is critical.
Yeah.
So VeraPro is our tool. It's our fit testing tool. It is literally developed by one of the audiologists who wrote the book on the standards for fit testing. That's how you know it's great. Dr. Gent, worked on this and made it a great tool. It measures the personal attenuation rating for each employee. It captures real world attenuation by using real earplugs. So for those of you, obviously, again, the person who answered laser light before, I appreciate you. But even if you said, hey, I use those 3M earplugs, or I use Moldex, or I use a mix of Moldex and Honeywell, that's fine. I want to know that you understand how your employees are wearing them, that they're trained appropriately, and that they're getting the right level of protection. And that's, one of the unique features about VeraPro is you can measure any product out there and any earplug out there, and you can get a personal rating for each one of those earplugs to make sure that they're properly protected. So it becomes as much of a, I know that I know which earplugs are great for me, but it's about knowing which ones fit the best, which are also comfortable and can get you get the job done. So again, it fulfills your regulatory, I can't speak right now, regulatory requirements to ensure proper fitting of hearing protection, as well as has, the right level of detail to do that continuous training and improvement training that's necessary.
And at SPI, we do use the VeraPro machine. So our fit testing service is actually with this VeraPro machine, which is really cool.
So I
All
think
right.
what they're saying is they can get you set up and teach you how to do that and make sure that you're getting the right earplugs for the right employees.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for Adding that. So moving on to the portfolio, that was your previous offer, I believe, Mark?
Yeah. So this was so recently we actually made a pretty nice investment in our technology and the way that we build our earmuffs. We haven't really made updates in a few years. Some of our competitors did. We looked at what were we hearing? So what were our customers saying? What were people in the mining industry saying? What were people in construction saying? And a lot of the times it was the same thing. They may have been using it in an entirely different area, but it's comfort, it's fit, it's adjustability. And so, before we kind of had this large, confusing product offering with, Lightning, Thunder, Clarity, all great brands. If you're still using them, they still work. But what we did was engineered improvements into our new VeraShield series. So, the goal was to build in that technology. We also won some great design awards and some, got recognized for how we did it. But, the idea was taking all of those previous, product offerings and make them a whole series. So you have the option of, the low attenuating, medium attenuating, high attenuating. If you wanted it in high vis, you can have a folding muff for easy transport, put it in your truck. You could have a neck band. So if you don't like the way those hard hat attachment muffs fit, you could use a neck band. And if you need a dielectric construction, so the all plastic non-conducting construction for, if you work in the utility space or work around electrical equipment, we also make those different ranges as well. So the multi-position, the folding, the hard hat, the over the head. And if you're still, using some of those, those QM24 or Mach series, those are still great muffs. I mean, we see them. I often see them. Ironically enough, when I turn on the TV or I see a scene that shows like, usually it's a dad in a garage, and they'll put a QM24 Plus hanging on the workbench because it's a standard in most most facilities. And still does a great job protecting the worker.
Good. So I'm moving on to the next slide, Mark. We still have about 7 or 8 minutes. I now want to invite people to send us their question as we're moving along and we're approaching the question period.
Yeah, we just had a little too much fun. So I'm gonna I'm gonna jump through this, but yeah, this is why we built it. Multi-adjustable headbands, micro adjustments, have a new memory foam. They fit better. Has the widest ear cup opening on the market currently. So, for those of you who have, hearing loss or have to wear hearing aids, this fits around them. Make sure you're protected. It's more comfortable. That's really what we built in with this technology, as well as making it, robust, non-deforming plastic. It's, ABS molded hot stamped, so it withstands your oily, your heavy environments, your frequent cleaning environments, and can be easily integrated with the different, adapters that we have, or different face shields, different PPE combinations. But it's all about making sure that our workers are safe.
Then the
Okay.
electronic earmuffs.
Yeah. And not sure if anyone has used the Impact series. It's one of my favorites just because it's a shooting and hunting earmuff, but we've seen such great demand on it that it's a part of our industrial series because guys are so comfortable, ladies are so comfortable wearing them that it's become a part of our industrial offering, and it has that the hear-through technology, and it cancels out impact noises. We also have more of the communication-based series of the Sync product offering line. And the newest one, which I definitely want to make sure I have a little bit of time, so I'm going to try to go quick here, but I have a few minutes to talk to you about it, but it's our smart hearing solution. It's a part of the VeraShield family. So all of those same design components were built in, but it's really built as a solution to add to your hearing loss prevention program. So it's measuring constant noise exposure that's actually getting to the employee. And it's really the first time we were ever able to answer, those questions of what if I could have a warning of hazardous risk? What if my employees have had those shifts in their hearing? How do we get your employees to have more ownership over their exposure? How can you review the historic noise data? personalize your protection, and make sure they're wearing it correctly. So it's a very cool new product, a new technology, innovative in that it does allow for an unparalleled level of personal exposure management, and can really lower the cost of your hearing program by making it proactive instead of reactive. So keeping the workers on the job doing what they're paid to do, instead of taking multiple hearing tests and going to different offices or getting time off the job. And it's really looking at detecting who's at the greatest risk before the damage is done. So, when you think about protecting their hearing, we're trying to indicate who has a risk, who's in that environment that is at high risk, and how do you manage it out. So whether it's those environmental controls or monitoring their exposure or their fit, we're allowing you to do something you've never been able to do before.
And in the next three slides, Mark, we're presenting the 300 series and as well as the in-ear headset. Just so you know, folks, on your console, you can download one handout, which you'll have the information of the VeraShield 300 series and the next couple of slides. So I invite you to download that handout and to have a look through. Mark, you're going to talk quickly about those before we reach 4:30. Time is
I
going
can't.
fast.
I know. It's going fast, but that's fine. That's what happens when you're with friends, right?
Yes.
So really the key of the data collection for this series is the way that these headsets work. They're collecting data via the internal and an external microphone. They have an advanced hear through, so you can hear commands, hear your environment. I already covered the fact that they have those VeraShield family, attributes of the wider cup opening, softer foam, more adjustable for a comfortable fit. But they also are communicating that if you're overexposed to noise, it takes your daily time weighted average and will actually provide you an audible warning through the headset as well as a visual warning. And it also has that integrated fit testing.
That's pretty
And the
cool.
only thing that's different than on this one and the next slide is the next one is the in-ear version, and it's just a little bit slimmer, more for if you have to wear a hood. A lot of people that are in the mining industry really like this one. Can be used with other PPE. It's slim. It can be used with the push-to-talk Bluetooth radios. Just an overall great technology, great piece of equipment. But allows you to protect your workers better than ever before possible.
I have a question, Mark. Can it be worn with the VersaFlow, which is one of the PAPR from another supplier? Can it be worn with different suppliers' equipment or?
Well, I think you have to look at, again, I'm not probably as familiar with that particular one as I would be with our respiratory.
Yeah.
But I think with the way that this model works is it's just snugly around your shoulder like you would see like a running headset or a regular noise canceling headset, and those earbuds that go in are actually earplugs. So that's how you get the
Okay.
protection level. So as long as they can get up and under or around, and you can keep a appropriate seal, I would test it. Obviously, if you can test it with this on and make sure that the respiratory is probably the bigger risk in that situation. So make sure that
Yeah.
you're doing your testing with the different PPE on that would potentially get in the way.
And
And do it
Sherry,
that way.
if you want your local rep to contact you and see, maybe revise your equipment and have a demonstration of the VeraShield, we're gonna have a question for you guys at the end. So make sure you let us know, and we'll gladly
Yeah,
support you with that. All
that's a
right.
great question though. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Next slide. How loud is too loud?
Yeah, so I mean, again, like I'm probably somewhere above where that conversation normally is. I think I'm probably closer to the truck sound of how loud I talk, at least if you ask my wife. But it's part of it is just knowing your environment, knowing the types of risks that are available, and when you talk about the variable risks, so when you think about around maintenance around trucks, cars, manufacturing, engines, those types of things. That's where this newer technology like VeraPro to understand, is it fit correctly? Are they protected correctly? Or the smart hearing solution where you know that they're variable, they're going in and out of these changing environments. That's how you know that they're protected appropriately, is by the new technology that really was built to counteract all these different risks.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mark. You guys have resources on your website? Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
we absolutely do. So, there's actually a hearing conservation page. So, if you have questions like fitting with other PPE, or, using dual protection in a loud environment, or even something I get a lot of questions on is, can I wear earmuffs while I'm wearing eye protection? That's some of the answers that we have on those materials, and they're great sources to help provide answers to you.
Absolutely. And feel free to contact us. You have the number and the email. You can, by contacting us, you can also reach out to me and I will put you in contact with Mark or with Francis. We are going to go into the question. We have a couple of questions, but before we do so, we want to know if we can help, as I just mentioned to you, Sherry. Considering these challenging times, would you like us to help you with a demonstration of Honeywell's VeriShield series? Would you like us to support the support from our SPI and Honeywell representative, maybe to audit your PPE or define possible alternatives, as we were just speaking? Um, uh, would you like to have SPI's expertise with your hearing loss prevention program, whether to design, implement, review the one you have right now, or audit? Would you like to do qualitative fit testing to ensure that your workers' hearing protection is worn effectively, or again, SPI expertise in industrial hygiene more in general, such as maybe personalized protector services, audiometric evaluation, sampling, mapping, etc. So we'll give you a few seconds to answer um, from A, B, C, D, E. You can pick more than one if you want to. In the meantime, send us your questions. We still have a few minutes to answer them. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, good. So questions. Oh, you turned on your webcam again.
I did. I figure at least they've sat with us for this long. At least I can give them a pleasant goodbye, or talk to them if they're asking a good question. So
Of course. Yeah, we have one question with the ear headset. What is the NNR rating and the average life of them?
oh, for the in-ear, so that one is actually, there's two different types of ear tips and multiple sizes. Again, the importance is making sure that it's comfortable, and it's getting you you can choose a low attenuating or a higher attenuating earplug tip. So it works really well that way. So from like a 25 to a 29 is about the range there on that. And what was the second part of the question?
Hold on, I did.
Sorry, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, what was the NNR rating and average
Yep.
life of?
Oh, average life. So I'm not sure if average life is how long does the product last, or how long is
Yeah.
the battery. So the battery on that one, it's a built-in rechargeable battery, and it lasts typically 16 hours or longer. The kind of the minimum rating is 16 hours, and that's with like average use of, how often am I refreshing the data? How often am I checking the signal? Am I using the pass-through hearing? Different things, but typically a couple days before you have to charge it. And then the over the head and the hard hat version is usually a little bit longer than that. I think I've tested that one out pretty well. So and it's been more than multiple days using that equipment.
All right. Mark, it's almost time to hang up, but I just want to let people know we didn't have any more questions, just so you know, we've answered them all. Just to let you know that one lucky winner amongst you guys will receive a free 2-year subscription and a headset worth roughly $1,200. You see what it's including on your screen, but because you've participated today, your name will be in the bunny hat, and then we'll do the draw this week. If you do not receive an email before Friday 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's because unfortunately you were not the big winner, but we will definitely contact individually the big winner. Thank you so much, Mark, for your
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
And also, just so you know, guys, we have an upcoming webinar on hand protection with. We're going to present the Ansel Guardian program on November 19. So you can register through us or go on our social media, on our blog, register. Will receive very great information articles on OHS actually. And before I let you go, as it's 4:30, again, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Francis,
Yeah.
for being with us and for responding to our audience questions as well.
Always an honor and had fun as well. So if we can have fun while doing our job, it doesn't feel like work, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well said. Well
So,
said.
Yes, well said.
thank you. Thank you for making it easier on me today and giving me something engaging to be a part of. So, and thank you for the audience for attending and learning more. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the audience to taking part in our questions, and we
Yeah.
hope the presentation met your expectations. Again, please answer our survey. It takes a few seconds, but it means a lot to us. And again, on behalf of SPI and Honeywell, I wish you a great day and be safe. Bye, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.